titled today's topic, In Plain Sight. So I guess you're wondering, like, well, what does that really mean? And I said a little bit about it when we were talking the children's sermon, but the gist of In Plain Sight is, you ever been looking for something, and you look all over the house, you look and look and look, and then you look and you're like, and you're sitting there like, for instance, where are my keys? Where are my keys? I got my keys anywhere, and you're like, or, my favorite, let me call you back. I can't find my cell phone. And then you have to say to yourself, my phone is in my hand, which is why I have to call them, And so what you say is, it was literally in plain sight. But so what are we talking about when we talk about this sermon? We just read the scripture about the parable that Jesus told them about the rich man and Lazarus. In plain sight. Now, it should be noted that one of the things in most of the parables that Jesus told, he never named names. He never gave names to the characters. But in this particular one, he named the poor man, and he named him Lazarus. But the rich man, you notice, had no name. And that's important to understand because names have meaning. Now, I know we are blessed to have a diverse congregation, and I know we have a lot of people, and you know that names, and I know especially on the continent, that names are very, very important. And so what someone calls you, whether they call you, is important because it means they have taken the time to know you. I often hear people say, well, I can't say that name. I will call you a nickname. And I was like, no. You need to take the time to learn people's names because it means something when you learn who they are and what they prefer to be called. You know, we have a lot of talk now about people saying, what is a preferred pronoun? And people are like, oh, that's no big deal. But it is because it's about what is important for their dignity. What is important to them. You don't want someone to call you by any other kind of name. You want to be called by what you are, so that's what we want to do. And so when we say he named Lazarus, it says that Jesus is saying we saw Lazarus. Because they didn't see Lazarus. The rich man didn't see anything but what he wanted. He ate, they said he ate well every day, and he had banquets every day, and he walked by the gates, and Lazarus was laying at the gate with sores, dogs looking. Now in those days, I was reading the commentary last night, and it said in those days that when they ate their food, because they didn't have utensils and stuff, so they used their hands, they would use bread to wipe up the grease and clean the plates off. And then they'd throw the bread on the ground for the dogs to eat. So they would feed the dogs food better than they even would feed the people. So think about that. Now here's the thing. Now think about today. How many times do we see, listen, I love pets, but how many times do we see commercials and things for how we help pets or animals or whatever, but we skip over how do we help people? How do we help somebody hungry on the street? How do we help somebody who doesn't have a home? And not only do we skip over that, but when we see it, we name them that. They are homeless. They are hungry. We call them that name. We don't call them Bob. We don't call them Jane. We don't call them Henry. We don't call them Harriet. We say, we name them by their situation. And so what happens is when we do them, we normalize what's going on with them. And we have to, what Jesus is calling us to do is to not normalize things that should be taken care of. To not normalize systems that are broken that we need to deal with. We have things like homelessness, mass incarceration, immigration, that have become so bad that we kind of almost like, well, what can we do? So let's just do maybe nothing, or let's do something. You know, we did Martin Luther King Day on projects on Monday with the youth, and it was amazing. But what I challenge the church to do also is this. How do we make sure we don't have to keep doing Martin Luther King service projects? It's not enough to say we made blankets for the homeless. Are we fighting to make sure there are no homeless? It's not enough to say we did toiletries and we help people, but what are we doing to make sure that the system is fixed? Jesus kept addressing systems. Charity is wonderful, but justice is where freedom happens.
Amen.
And Jesus is calling us, when we talk about human relations, he's calling us to see and to unnormalize the systems that we have got so accustomed to that we almost don't see them. I'm I'm so excited because the youth were so excited one day to serve. And they were so excited when we first told them about what we were going to do. You saw the box that they made, and because I met an activist, when I was in Iowa, and she made a comment, I've given up on adults, I'm investing in children. And she said, because children see the love. They just see love. They don't see, she's like, they understand differences. They understand there's problems, but they see solutions. And they're just like, how do we work this together? How do we work together? How do we do? She's like, adults are still caught on what something's been put in them. She's like, I'm investing in children. And I think you all heard this morning when Lizzie gave that answer. She just saw love. She knows Jesus' love, and she knows Jesus called us to love our neighbors as ourselves. And now she's saying, how do we do that? And that's what we're called to do. What we haven't normalized for some reason is love. In plain sight is the love of Jesus. In plain sight is the love that he died. In plain sight is Jesus dying on the cross for us. Hidden from us for some reason is loving our neighbors as ourselves. Is letting people to love who they love. Is the willingness to hear out each other. Is the willingness to understand. But make no mistake, hearing and understanding doesn't allow you to take away my humanity. There's always this, there's a Twitter feed between a couple of pastors because one supports the current president's policies and another was like, you're being disrespectful. And so somebody said, it's not about that I don't support the office of the president, but when the policies of that office are taken away from my humanity, then we can't agree. Because if you say I don't deserve to live, that's different than saying I may not deserve to wear a red shirt. Or I can't do, that's the things we have to, and what we have to make sure we don't allow as people of God is things like sexism, racism, and homophobia. And I learned a lot about redlining again while I was in Iowa, to come so normalized. They were like, oh, you just can't live over there. No, why can't you? We're all people. Right. We're all people of God. And so I challenge us on this Human Relations Sunday. It's not that we said that a rich man went to hell because he was rich, because a lot of times people get stuck on that. So we are Methodists. We were founded by John Wesley. John Wesley said, get all the money you can, but then he said, give it away. He made a lot of money, but he died poor because he gave it away. So he wasn't anti-money. He was anti what you did with the money. If you had $1 million, he didn't want you to just hoard it and say, I'm a millionaire, but he wanted to make sure that everybody had stuff. He went and talked to the prisoners, to those that didn't have food, to those that didn't have homes. That's where he spent his money. So it's not about being rich, but as Abby said, it's what you do with the money. In this story, the rich man, even once he even was in hell, part of the issue was he still didn't realize his privilege. He said, he didn't even ask Abraham for help. He said, send Lazarus. He still didn't look at Lazarus as a full person. And so the challenge for us is to ask ourselves, are we the rich man, or are we the poor man? And I, of course, read this like, I'm Lazarus. And then God said, are you? And I was like, well, wait a minute now. Listen, I'm not rich. I'm not ignoring people. And he's like, but sometimes your privilege in the things you do have, you don't realize what you have. I haven't been here that long, so some of you don't know. Economic development is my passion in our communities. And so I love to teach about that. And one of the things where God had to get on me was because I went to my church and I was like, we're going to teach y'all how to budget. And I was looking at them thinking, y'all don't have, what you mean you don't have a budget? What you mean, and I'm looking at them and then God was like, how do you have a budget and they're not even making enough money to live day to day? You're chastising them something, you have the luxury of having that. That's a privilege you have that you're not holding against somebody else. That's not even, some people don't even have money to make it through the month. And I'm telling them they should have saved enough to be able to have 6 months worth of savings. And so and in neighborhoods that don't have banks, in neighborhoods that don't have grocery stores, so they're shopping in dollar stores. So we're working with people who have way less than I have, but I'm looking down on them saying, why haven't you done what I have done? And I was like, and God said, that was your rich man moment. That's your rich man thing. There's a privilege that you have to understand because you can't reach people You can't help and you can't love until you see where you are at. And so I had to say to God, okay, I'm sorry. I see my privilege. Yes, I love everybody. But the thing was, it had become so normalized to me that in plain sight, I didn't realize what I was doing. And so what I challenge each of us today is to ask God, what is it that we may be overlooking because things have become so normal to us that we can't see what people may need. We can't see where people may need the love that we have, the things that we can offer. What is it that we have normalized that we say, well, it just can't be done? And so we don't even try any longer. The rich man didn't go to hell because he was rich. It's because he didn't care. Because he didn't try. The poor man didn't go to heaven just because he was poor. But he was. We don't hear a lot about him, but it wasn't about the wealth. It was about what God is calling us to do. On this Human Relations Sunday, God is asking us to love everybody. That is the tenet of being a disciple of Christ. How are you loving? But understand, you all hear me say it all the time, love is a verb. It is not a noun to say, I love, and keep it moving. Love is action. Love is making packets for people who need it. Love is saying, I'm with you. Love is saying, I hear you. Love is saying, I see you. And I see what your needs are. One of the things that struck me one day at the MLK event was the students were doing different things. And one of the pastors, she asked Ferris a question. Ferris is one of our youth, for those who are visitors. And she asked him a question, and he answered her. Now, mind you, the pastors, there's a lot going on. She's a pastor. I don't think that wasn't her church, but her church was there. And she heard something he said, and she said, let's talk. And I looked over there, and they were over there. You saw them? They were there for a long time. And I could hear some of the conversation, and I just was like, she heard something in him that said, I want to talk and talk more. And he was just sharing what he wanted to do. And so I was like, I didn't know you wanted to do that. And it was just, it reminded us that sometimes we don't take the time to hear our youth or even hear people. Because he didn't say anything bad. He said something he wanted to really do. So she said, okay, well, how do you want to do that? And he just started opening up what he wanted to do. And I said, sometimes we normalize just, how you doing? All right, we don't even wait for the answer. But she waited for the answer, and she heard the seed in the answer, and opened it up from there. And I challenge us today to not be like the rich man and just walk by and let the dogs lick beneath somebody's wounds, but for us to be the people of God, the people that John Wesley talked about, to be the rebels in today's world that says, love yourself and God gives you favor and spin around 3 times and God's going to give you. But to realize that it's about community. We all rise together. We do better when we're all together. We do better when we're saying, I see you, you see me, and together we can make this work. Together we can change this world. Together with love of God. God didn't come just for us to be rich individually. He made us rich with his love when Jesus died, and then that love was for us to share it, to be disciples. We don't always do these events and projects just because it's like, oh, it's something to do for us to check off on our church stats to give to Bishop. We do this because this is what we're called to do, and it's a privilege to be able to help. We gave so much in donations last week. That was amazing in a short amount of time. I'm amazed at how much we've done here since I've been here in this short time in this church. That the love for giving and understanding is so great here. And I'm proud to serve here. And so I remind you again, in plain sight, love each other, need each other, show each other that unconditional love. On this Human Relations Sunday, realize that everybody has a right to live, a right to love, and a right to be. Amen. Amen. Amen.